Tales from the Riverbank, Episode 11, Home Time. Everything we own is in a cardboard box. I haven't been able to find my razor or anything else come to that for 4 days. I'm covered in dust and sweat from carrying things up and down 3 flights of stairs. My old trousers, which I haven't worn since Princess Diana got married, are ripped all the way up both seams. I look like Robinson Crusoe. It's tough moving house, tough physically and emotionally. I've just got back from the Jardin Public, where Charlie has been saying goodbye to all her friends. Rustine, Vulcan, Nikita, Thésée, Happy, OK, Victor, and some of the lesser peripheral dogs. The Dalmatian with the limp was there, along with the enormous grey thing that answers to the name of Achilles and slobbers on anything that moves. Bottoms was sniffed for the last time. The trees and the fence received their final watering. It was a poignant moment. Well, it would have been if Charlie had realised this was goodbye. She just thought it was a routine run around the Allée du Chien. She doesn't know that tomorrow she'll be climbing into the front seat of the van between me and the other big human, who is my big brother in the big human world, and heading off back to England. As far as we know, Charlie has never been to England before, but I'm not sure whether she understands the concept of the nation state anyway. And without the concept, it's difficult to have preconceptions, although I suppose being French, she's probably thinking that the croquette will be inedible and it's going to be very foggy all the time. My wife has sensibly gone ahead by plane and won't be making the arduous overland journey to Boulogne-sur-Mer. She flew to Luton last night, or as it's known in the world of low-cost aviation, London. It's not like flying with a national carrier, is it? Find your own seat, key in the flight path, move that big lever in the middle backwards and forwards, raise the landing gear, lower it again. No, it's not like BA, where you can just relax with the all-day buffet and leave everything to the pilot. She flew back with our old friends EasyJet, so called because they find it very easy to lose your luggage. And when she arrives, she'll be spending an uncomfortable night on the floor of our new home. Why? Because our bed is in the back of the van. Her choice. She could have come with us. Hang on a minute. That means I'll also be spending an uncomfortable last night on the floor. I rang her up and lodged a complaint. She sounded upset. But then it's not easy being without me. Ask anybody. Was she missing me? No, just that a suitcase hadn't arrived. For most normal people, the last night anywhere would be a time for reflection, for looking back, weighing up the experience over a glass of wine in a quiet restaurant somewhere. While I like to think of myself as relatively normal, my brother demonstrated once again that clearly he isn't. We didn't do any reminiscing on our final evening in Bordeaux. Instead, he insisted we play blob until 4 a.m. And as a result, I was too tired to drive the van the following morning. But it was probably for the best on balance. It stopped me from getting emotional and dwelling on that awful question. Were we doing the right thing? We made good progress all day, my brother driving, Charlie reading the map, me supervising with my eyes closed. Even being stopped by the police 3 times didn't do much to slow down our northward trajectory. What do they want with a couple of innocent Englishmen and a bad-tempered Labrador anyway? I told them if they were looking for drugs, they should have searched my wife at the airport. We drove on. Poitiers, Tours, Paris, all passed by without incident. Even Charlie, famous for her projectile vomiting, didn't cause us to stop. I'd slipped a couple of car sickness pills into her food in the morning while my brother distracted her with the squeaky bone. But we had avoided Angoulême, just in case. Before any of us could say au revoir, it would have been down to me anyway, because my brother can't pronounce his R's and Charlie only knows how to bark, we were inching nervously up the ramp and into the bowels of the violently rocking Sally Line ferry. It occurred to me that my grandmother would have been very pleased with the situation. The wind was causing enough movement in the boat's bowels to rival the effect of any amount of licorice. I felt sick. We locked up and followed the signs for the all-day breakfast. The smell of fried bacon was more than my unaccustomed stomach could take. I went out onto the deck and watched the final preparations being made for our departure. At the bottom of the gangplank, a mother picked up her young child and looked on as her husband carefully arranged 3 cases of Moët Chandon in the empty pushchair. The last remaining illegal immigrants were climbing aboard the lorries, and along the side of the boat, the port employees were busily playing cards and generally smoking. The ferry shuddered and we were off. Boulogne was receding as surely as Prince William's hairline. The harbour lights twinkled and then dimmed. Would I ever return? Would I ever see France again? Maybe it wasn't too late. I looked back towards the coastline and wondered how far I could swim. With a mixture of hope and satisfaction, I remembered that I'd once managed 2 lengths of the pool at the Manchester Aquatics Centre. That was in perfectly calm weather conditions, though. I leaned forward over the rail and looked down at the waves beating against the ship. I didn't fancy my chances of repeating my personal best tonight, not with the wind as strong as it was and no armbands. And there might be jellyfish. I moved away from the edge and thought about Kate Winslet. It didn't help. There was no escape. I was going home. The outline of France merged momentarily with the English Channel and then disappeared. Had I learnt anything from my time in the City of the Grape? Did I know more about myself? Was I older and wiser? I was definitely older, but wiser? Not really. I'd tried, though. I'd managed to break the cycle for a brief period, to pull my shorts over my expanding waistline for one last jog around the swimming pool. But the holiday was over. The tent and the skis were securely packed away in the back of the van 5 decks below. At least I hoped they were. The amount we were rolling around, the van might well have broken free of its moorings, crashed through the bow doors and condemned our holiday gear and all our other possessions to a watery grave. Stop worrying, everything will be fine once you get home. I watched a seagull struggling in the wind alongside, trying to keep up with the movement of the boat. It flew closer and fixed me with its beady eye. Yes, I said. Is there something you want to tell me? The seagull rose, turned shoreward, and made a beckoning motion with its wing. It called out, its shrill cry rising clear above the silent stillness. Silent stillness. I looked around. My brother loomed into view with an excited Charlie, who put her front paws onto the rail next to me and barked au revoir into the night. The engines had stopped. We were drifting. Other passengers were coming onto the deck. Sleepy lorry drivers appeared, rubbing their eyes and grumbling. Above the murmuring of the assembling crowd, the unmistakable feedback preamble to some sort of tannoy announcement blared out. A mechanical failure. Apologies for any inconvenience. Blah, blah, blah. We were going to be towed back to France as soon as the tugboat captain had finished his dessert and coffee. The news was met with typical English stoicism, gratuitous swearing and demands for reimbursement. A collective wave of discontent ran from prow to stern and back again. Everyone was very angry. Well, not quite everyone. Not me. The seagull! It was a sign, unmistakably. At last, destiny was taking a hand, After years of leaving me to wander around aimlessly, it was finally showing an interest in my life. Fate did have a plan after all. I was saved. With something close to religious fervour, I fished out my mobile for one of the secret pockets of my brand new Go travel belt and rang my wife. "It's me, your husband. No, your current husband. Get the next flight to Boulogne." "All right, Paris then." "I've got an idea."